Hello, I just got done watching the Netflix show Dahmer-Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story on Netflix. This stars Evan Peters as Jeffrey Dahmer and was created by Ryan Murphy, who made shows like American Horror Story, American Crime Story, and my favorite of his was Nip Tuck. I'm not the biggest fan of American Horror Story, but the few seasons that I've seen, like Murder House and Freak Show, both starred Evan Peters in different roles, and I thought he was a good actor in both them. Um, so this show was based off the life and crimes of Jeffrey Dahmer, and getting into it, I thought overall the acting and the story was very good, and it was also very interesting and based off different true crime documentaries and interviews I've seen in the past over Jeffrey Dahmer. It seems like that his mannerisms and look was played very well by Evan Peters. Um, I think one of my favorite things of the show was the acting of Richard Jenkins, who played Jeffrey Dahmer's dad, Lyle Dahmer. And my favorite episode of this show was um, Lyle, and this was episode 8, and it told the story of Lyle Dahmer and what he went through with his life during raising his son Jeffrey. Um, I thought that it was an interesting show, and one thing that's interesting to add is that this does not glorify Jeffrey in any way. It actually shows other people in his life, including his real life concerned neighbor, Glenda Cleveland, played by Niecy Nash, and other people in his life, like family and some of his victims. Speaking of one of his victims, there is an episode called Tony, and it was based off the life around his boyfriend and his later victim, um, Tony. Excuse me for not remembering his last name, but most of the episode was centered around Tony, who had aspirations to be a model, and he was deaf. Um, his story was very interesting because it gave some perspective on what one of his victims went through. And I really liked episode 1, how it showed the story of Jeffrey and his downfall and how he was defeated by one of his victims with his eventual arrest. The only complaint I have against the show is I don't like when shows and movies play an ending of something during the beginning. I think it would have been more suspenseful if they would have shown that episode at a later time. I prefer chronological order of stuff, but that's just my opinion. Um, the show also will never make me think of mannequins and sandwiches again after watching this show. But if you were a fan of true crime like I am, I would highly recommend this show. I don't think I would ever watch this show again, but it was very interesting. And um, I think that shows like Nip Tuck, and this is comparing oranges to apples. However, I would say that this is probably my second favorite, Nip Tuck being still my favorite out of Ryan Murphy's, but this is probably the best um, part that Evan Peters has played to date. And there was an independent movie starring Ross Lynch as Jeffrey Dahmer. I've not seen it, but I would be interested to watch it ever since finishing this. Um, Netflix has also made shows like um, real life documentary style shows like that are called confession tapes, and these are real life interviews with serial killers like Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, and they are eventually making a Jeffrey Dahmer one, which I would also be interested to see. Um, I would like to add that during the last few episodes of the show, they used parallels between him and John Wayne Gacy, who were somewhat similar in the ways of their lifestyle and killings. I don't know if there's any plans of fictionalized shows on John Wayne Gacy, but I would be interested to see if they would make one based on his life, and if they do, I would really be interested to see Ryan Murphy's take on it, because I thought he did a really good job with this show. Um, my closing thoughts are I really like the show. I like the acting from all the actors. I thought the story was accurate based off research of the real life story, and I would highly recommend this. Thank you for watching.